and I'm joined here today by young Oromo activists across the diaspora from the United States to Australia, who are playing a part in the digital version of a reignited Oromo protest movement. So we are joined by Marartu Kitila, Toltu Tufa, and Wako Ragasa. Baganagan uftan. So the discussion that we want to have today will be in an Afan Oromo and English. Afan Oromo tifi Afan Inglisin haisoini akka namni Inglisi bekus Afan Oromo bekus hubatun. So we have to start with why we are here today. So Aditya Obilesi Kenya Hachalu Hundesa tu Arra Walitinu Fide. Hachalu, like the meaning of his name, was leading in his ability to capture the essence of Oromuma, Oromo identity and culture, and Oromo resistance against cultural and political marginalization. Akuma maqaa isaatti Hacaaluun caaladha. Namni muuziqaa isaa dhageeffatee aadaa Oromoo, ilaalcha Oromoo, beekumsa Oromoo gadi fageenya barata. Muuziqaa isaa diddaa qeerroo fi qarree gadi fageenyatti ibse. We've heard this saying before. Hachalu's music was the soundtrack to the Oromo protest movement, starting in 2014, led by the Qeerroo Nqarree to resist land grabbing in Oromia, political marginalization, and to demand equality and dignity. This movement led to the transition moment in 2018 when the previous prime minister resigned. Hachalu Qama Sena Oromoti. My mother said to me recently that what we are experiencing right now is what she experienced when she was our age. What we can't forget is that Hachalu is part of a historical legacy of Oromo artists that have such a unique ability to capture not just Oromo culture, but the struggle for freedom and equality for the Oromo people through their music. And he's a part of a legacy of Oromo artists that have been targeted and killed because of this unique ability. Ebisa Adunya, Usmayo Musa, Abdi Kope, and many others, and now Hachalu Hundesa. So Gafin Tokofa, what I would like to ask you all is, Malif Ethiopian Yerohunda Artisti Oromo Bekomo Ajefti. Why do you think the Ethiopian system, Ethiopia, has this legacy of killing inspirational and prominent Oromo artists? I pose that question to all of you.
Sirbi akkuma beekamu ergaa dabarsa akka filmii fi kitaaba. Dhugaa dubbachuuf kitaaba filmii caalaa sirbatu dhaamsa akka gaariitti uummataaf dabarsuu danda'a. Maaliif yoo jenne sirbi gabaabaadhaa si'a baay'ee dhaggeeffachuu dandeessaa utuu hin quufiin itti dabalee kan akka sirbaa miiraa keessa nama galchus hin jiru. So it's not just the message being transmitted, it also carries with it a lot of emotion. So it is able to teach people, it's able to mobilize them and make them politically conscious. Keessaayyuu sirbituuniif sirbi Oromoo baay'ee dhaamsa sabboonummaa qabu, waa'ee aadaa fi seenaa Oromoo nama barsiisu. Kanaaf jecha Itoophiyaan, mootummaan Itoophiyaa fi warra Itoophiyaawwanetti moofaatti amananii akka Oromoon of ta'ee jiraatu fedhiin qaban ijaa ta'ee fi karaa sirbaan akka uummanni Oromummaa baree konfidensiitiin jiraatu hin fedhani. Kanaaf sirbitoota keenya kan akka Eebbisaa Addunyaa, Yoosef Gammachuu, amma immoo akkuma beekamu Haacaaluu Hundeessaa nu jalaa ajjeesu akka isaan Oromummaa uummata keessatti hin jabeessineef jedhaniiti.
Akkuma Waaqoon jedhee artistoonni keenya particularly isaan kan sabboonummaa cimaa qaban, isaan kan Oromummaa isaatiin boonan, isaan kan waa'ee qabsoo fi hiree Oromoo sirban kan akka Eebbisaa Addunyaa fi Hacaaluu Hundeessaa. These artists are seen as an existential threat to Ethiopianism and to the Ethiopian identity. Mootummaan Itoophiyaa yeroo hundumaa, they are desperate to suppress Oromummaa and Sabboonummaa Oromo because it is a fundamental contradiction to the anti-Oromoness, which has allowed them to consistently exploit Oromo land, resources, and people for the benefit of the Habasha. Kanaafi artistoonni keenya kan Oromummaa fi Sabboonummaa isaanii hin shakkine qabsaa'aa fi goota nuuf ta'anii. And that's why I think they're susceptible to becoming a target.
Wanti nu beekuu qabnu ka namni Itoophiyaa kana wanti isaan barbaadan jalqabumarraa Oromoon akka harka isaan qaba jechuun akka Oromoo bulchuu barbaadani. Humnaan haa ta'uu wanti nageenyi takka illee hin jirtu warra kanneen faa uummata Oromoo kana qabaachuu qabna. Maaliif akka qabaatuu barbaadan jennee otoo wal gaafanne karaa economy, karaa lafti dachii kenna, dachii bal'aa waan qabneef jecha, nageenyi waan qabneef jecha, waan nu harkaa qabnu kana waan barbaadaniif jecha nu harkaa fudhachuu barbaadani. Wanti kana nama harkaa fudhachuudhaan humnaan fudhachuu dhiisi sammuu nama tu'inaan harkaan qabaachuun rakkinaan qabu. It's very easy to demoralize people mentally than to worry about them physically. So I think it's in their best interest to demoralize Oromo people, to lose a sense of confidence in themselves, to be able to constantly be in a state of recovery as opposed to a state of building for themselves. And they've created systems around this. And one of the systems is to make sure they pierce at the heart of Oromo people wherever they reside. And for us, the quintessential Oromo form of resistance is through singing, is through song, particularly given that they banned historically reading and writing. The verbal or the oral tradition is particularly important to Oromo people, and of course also becomes one of the places where the Ethiopian narrative seeks to quell the Oromo consciousness.
I completely agree with everyone. And what I particularly noticed is that when Hacaaluu was interviewed by the Oromo Media Network about a week ago, he started to criticize, I would say slightly, the Abiy government. And we know that there has been extensive reporting of human rights abuses throughout the country, particularly in the military command posts in Wallagga, Guji, Borana, and Shawa. And he was mentioning that there are human rights abuses being committed by the government. And he also criticized the Menelik statute. And I would like to hear your point of view on this. I think that because he was sliding towards starting to criticize the government, his assassination was a strategic attack because he is uniquely capable of recultivating a new Oromo protest movement. What do you guys think about that?
Personally, the way I see it, I don't know if we can blame Abiy directly, but it is the same forces that he brought back from the dead that I believe killed Hacaaluu. So when I say the same forces, I'm talking about the people who had no problem with the status quo under Haile Selassie, who had no issues with the mono-ethnic cultural domination that used to exist and still actually exists very strongly. And then he represented, of course, the antithesis to that vision. So when they saw him, he's a very confident person, Hacaaluu. When they saw him on TV coming out there, just saying things that Oromos generally all believe, Oromos do not consider Menelik a hero, far from it. Just him being there very unapologetically saying that, it infuriated them. It's like, how dare he says this? Let's also remember the statue of Menelik is being in the middle of Oromia, in the capital city of Oromia. It represents conquest. It is we have taken your land under our control, and then we're going to put our king's statue here. So the fact that he criticized that, he was just questioning a lot of things that they find very sacred. And I think the